The immigration agent's words hit me like ice water. "Act like I'm arresting you." His voice was barely a whisper, but every syllable burned into my brain. My hand froze midair, still holding my passport. The chaos of O'Hare International Airport, thousands of people rushing to catch flights, announcements echoing overhead, children crying, all of it faded into white noise. It was just him and me, and those 5 words that would shatter everything I thought I knew about my life. Before we continue, please subscribe and hit that notification bell. And let us know where in the world you're watching from in the comments. I'm Margaret Chen. I'm 58 years old. I built a tech company from absolutely nothing, just a Stanford dropout with an idea and enough stubborn determination to make investors believe in me. Cloud Sync Systems. Maybe you've heard of it. We're worth about 50 million now, and I fought for every single dollar. I've survived sexism in Silicon Valley boardrooms where I was the only woman. I've outlasted competitors who tried to crush me. I've negotiated deals that would make grown men sweat, but nothing, and I mean nothing, prepared me for what I was about to discover. "Ma'am?" The agent's eyes locked onto mine with an intensity that made my stomach drop. "I need you to stay very calm. Do not look behind you. Do not make any gestures. Your life is in immediate danger." My heart started hammering against my ribcage. "What?" I managed to whisper back, my mouth suddenly dry. "Come with me, as if I were detaining you for a documentation issue. Trust me right now, Mrs. Chen. Lives depend on it." Behind me, I heard my son's voice. Derek, my only child. My beautiful boy. "Mom, what's happening? Is everything okay?" The agent's expression didn't change. Professional, calm, terrifying in its composure. "Mr. Chen, your mother has an irregularity with her travel documents. Please wait in the boarding area with your wife. This is just routine." "But Mom," Derek started. "Sir." The agent's voice took on that official tone that brooks no argument. "The boarding lounge, now. Your mother will join you shortly." I walked beside the agent, my legs moving on autopilot. I could feel every eye in that security line watching me. The businessman who thought I was some kind of criminal, the family with kids who stared openly, and Derek, God, Derek, calling after me with what sounded like genuine concern. My mind was racing. What irregularity? My passport is perfect. I triple-checked everything before this trip. We'd been planning this vacation for 4 months, 2 weeks in Japan, Tokyo, Kyoto, Hiroshima. It was supposed to be healing, a chance to honor my late husband David's memory. He'd always wanted to visit his grandmother's homeland. He died 6 months ago from ALS, and his last words to me still echo in my head every single day. "Margaret, promise me you'll get closer to Derek. Really try this time. He needs you." I'd promised. God, how I'd promised, tears streaming down my face as I held David's hand in that hospital room. This trip was supposed to be my way of keeping that promise. The agent led me down a stark hallway, away from the crowds. We turned into a small, windowless room. Gray walls, 2 plastic chairs, a metal desk, a computer screen mounted on the wall. He locked the door behind us. "Mrs. Chen, my name is Federal Agent Patricia Reynolds. What I'm about to show you is going to be difficult to process, but I need you to stay calm." What the hell is going on? My voice came out sharper than I intended. Good. Anger was better than the fear clawing at my chest. Agent Reynolds moved to the computer. 3 weeks ago, we received a report from someone close to you, someone who was concerned about your safety. The screen flickered to life. Security camera footage. I recognized the check-in area immediately. We'd been standing there less than 40 minutes ago. "Watch carefully, Mrs. Chen." The timestamp showed 7:23 a.m. There I was on screen, organizing my documents at the counter, my back to the camera. And behind me, in line, stood Derek and Emma. Derek, my son, 32 years old. With my eyes and his father's smile, the boy I held the day he was born, the teenager I drove to soccer practice, the man I'd given everything to, and Emma, his wife of 4 years, Pretty quiet Emma with her social worker salary, and her humble background and her soft voice that always seemed to irritate me for reasons I could never quite articulate. They looked normal, just a couple waiting in line, chatting casually. "Keep watching," Reynolds said quietly. On screen, I turned away to hand my passport to the airline agent. My carry-on bag sat on the floor beside me, my water bottle tucked into the side pocket. That water bottle, stainless steel, engraved with my company logo. I took it everywhere. What happened next took less than 10 seconds. Derek glanced around, checking, making sure no one was watching. Then he reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out something small, a vial, maybe 2 inches long. My breath caught in my throat. Emma saw it. I watched her face change on that screen, watched her eyes go wide. She grabbed Derek's wrist, her mouth moving urgently. No audio, but I could read the panic in her body language. Derek shook her off, hard, rough enough that she stumbled slightly. And then, while I was distracted at the counter, my own son uncapped my water bottle. "No," I whispered. He poured the contents of that vial into my water, recapped it, placed it back in my bag exactly where it had been. Emma reached for the bottle, tried to grab it, but Derek elbowed her. The impact made her gasp, made her clutch her side. He looked at her with something in his eyes that made my blood run cold even through a security camera. A warning. A threat. Then he smiled, straightened his jacket, and they both stood there like nothing had happened. That can't be real. My voice sounded strange to my own ears, distant, like someone else was speaking. "There's a mistake, the camera angle. You can't see clearly. Mrs. Chen." Reynolds paused the footage. "We've had 3 independent forensic analysts review this. There's no mistake." She pressed play again. Different angle now. Same moment. This time from the side, crystal clear. Derek's hand on my water bottle. The vial tipping. The liquid pouring in. The room started spinning. "We recovered the vial from a trash can 15 feet from where you were standing," Reynolds continued. Her voice was gentle but firm. "Our lab has been analyzing it for the past 3 hours, working with Japanese authorities since you were Tokyo-bound. Preliminary results show digitalis. Do you know what that is?" I nodded slowly. "Heart medication." "In therapeutic doses, yes. In the concentration we found? It's a poison, Mrs. Chen. If you'd consumed that water during your flight, at altitude when medical help is limited, you would have gone into cardiac arrest. You would not have survived to reach Japan." I sat down heavily in one of those plastic chairs. My legs simply stopped working. Derek, my son, my baby. "How?" The word came out broken. "How did you catch this?" "Pure chance, honestly. One of our behavioral analysts was running a training exercise, teaching new recruits how to spot suspicious activity in security footage. She noticed the movement, the way your son checked his surroundings, the body language. She flagged it for review." Reynolds sat across from me. "When we saw what he'd done, we had maybe 20 minutes before your flight boarded. We had to act fast." "Where's Emma?" I asked suddenly. "Where's my daughter-in-law?" Something shifted in Reynolds' expression. "She's safe. She's in another room." "Did she help him? Is she part of this?" The question tasted bitter, because of course Emma was involved. I'd never trusted her. Never thought she was good enough for Derek. Always suspected she was after our money. Reynolds pulled out a file folder, slid it across the table. "Mrs. Chen, 3 weeks ago, Emma Morrison Chen walked into our field office and filed this report." I opened the folder with shaking hands. The first page was Emma's handwriting, small, neat, precise. "My name is Emma Morrison Chen. I'm married to Derek Chen, son of Margaret Chen. I'm here to report that my husband is planning to murder his mother. I have documentation. I have recordings. I have evidence. And I'm terrified, but I can't let him do this. Please help us." The world tilted on its axis. "What?" I breathed. Reynolds pointed to the rest of the file. "She's been documenting his activities for 8 months, Mrs. Chen. Bank statements showing his gambling debts, text messages from loan sharks, recordings of his phone calls, search histories from his computer. I flipped through page after page. My hands were trembling so badly I could barely hold the papers. Derek's bank account, negative $47,000. Credit card statements, $156,000 in cash advances. All at casinos. Text message from unknown number. You have 1 week, $4.2 million, or your family pays. We know where your mother lives. Derek's internet search history. Undetectable poisons. How to induce heart attack. Inheritance laws, Illinois. How long does probate take? Life insurance payout timeline. $4 million. My son owed $4 million to people dangerous enough to threaten murder. I don't understand. I looked up at Reynolds. Why didn't Emma just tell me? Why go through the FBI? Reynolds's expression was sad, pitying even. Mrs. Chen, with all due respect, would you have believed her? The question hit like a slap. Would I have believed Emma? Sweet, quiet, not good enough for my son, Emma? No, I wouldn't have. I would have thought she was lying, trying to turn me against Derek, trying to get control of the money herself. She knew you wouldn't believe her, Reynolds said softly. She states it clearly in her report. Quote, Margaret has never trusted me. Derek knows this. He's been using her distrust as a shield. When I tried to tell her about his gambling 6 months ago, she accused me of trying to cause problems in our marriage. If I accuse him of planning murder, she'll think I'm insane, or worse, that I'm the one trying to endle her and frame him. I closed my eyes, remembered that dinner. 8 months ago, Emma had tried to talk to me privately. Margaret, I'm worried about Derek. He's been secretive about money. I found credit card statements. Emma. I'd cut her off, my voice cold. I don't appreciate you snooping through my son's finances. Every marriage has money disagreements. That's between you and Derek. But Margaret, it's not normal disagreements. Enough. I'd stood up from the table. If you can't make your marriage work without running to his mother, maybe you're not ready to be married. She'd looked at me with these huge, hurt eyes, and then she'd nodded, apologized quietly, and never brought it up again. To me, anyway. Instead, she'd gone to the FBI. She's been wearing a wire for 3 weeks, Reynolds continued, recording everything Derek says when they're alone, every threat, every plan, every moment he reveals his true nature. I need to see her. I stood up abruptly. I need to talk to Emma right now. Reynolds hesitated. Mrs. Chen, we have a bigger decision to make first. We can arrest Derek right now. We have the video evidence. We have the poison. We have Emma's documentation. That's enough to charge him with attempted murder. Then do it. Arrest him. Or, Reynolds held up a hand, we can let this play out further. What? If we arrest him now, his lawyers will argue circumstantial evidence. They'll say the video is unclear. They'll claim anyone could have touched that water bottle. They'll say the searches on his computer were research for a novel, or curiosity, or anything but actual intent. Reynolds leaned forward. But if we let him think his plan is working, if you get on that plane with a clean water bottle, if you go on this trip, if he tries something else, we can catch him in the act. With multiple attempts documented, with a clear pattern of behavior, there won't be any doubt. Any jury would convict him without hesitation. You want me to spend 2 weeks in Japan with my son who just tried to murder me? My voice rose. You want me to pretend everything is fine? I want you to have a choice, Mrs. Chen. Justice now with the possibility of him getting a reduced sentence on a technicality, or guaranteed justice with no chance of him ever walking free. I stood there in that tiny room, my entire world crumbling around me. David's face flashed through my mind. My husband of 35 years, who'd loved Derek despite everything, who'd always made excuses for him, who died begging me to keep our family together. And Emma. God, Emma. The woman I'd dismissed, belittled, treated like she wasn't worthy of being in our family. Emma, who'd risked everything to save my life. How much time do I have to decide? I asked. Your flight board's in 30 minutes. I need an answer in 5. 5 minutes to decide if I had the courage to look my would-be murderer in the eye and pretend I didn't know. 5 minutes to decide if I could trust the woman I'd spent 4 years mistrusting. 5 minutes to choose between the son I'd given birth to and the truth that might destroy me. I thought about David's last words. Promise me you'll get closer to Derek. Maybe this was how I'd keep that promise. Not by being blind to who Derek really was, but by finally seeing him clearly. I want to talk to Emma first, I said. Then I'll give you my answer. Reynolds nodded and stood. Follow me. We walked down another hallway. She stopped at a door marked Interview Room B. She thinks you hate her, Mrs. Chen, Reynolds said quietly. She's terrified you're going to blame her for all of this somehow. Does she know I know? About what she did? Reporting Derek? Yes. I took a deep breath. Open the door. Reynolds pushed it open. And there sat Emma on a folding chair, her arms wrapped around herself. She looked small, fragile. Her eyes were red from crying, and when she saw me, she flinched like I might hit her. For 4 years, I'd looked at this woman and seen someone not good enough. Now I looked at her and saw someone braver than I'd ever been. Emma, I said. She stood up quickly. Margaret, I know you probably think I should have told you sooner, or differently, or that I'm a terrible wife for reporting my own husband, but I couldn't let him hurt you. I couldn't. Stop. I held up my hand. She stopped, tears sliding down her cheeks. I crossed the room and did something I should have done 4 years ago. I hugged her. Emma went rigid with shock. Then she collapsed against me, sobbing like her heart was breaking. Maybe it was. Thank you, I whispered into her hair. Thank you for saving my life when I didn't deserve it. You're his mother, Emma choked out. You deserve to live. You deserve to know the truth. We pulled apart. I kept my hands on her shoulders, looking into her face, really looking, maybe for the first time ever. The agent said you've been documenting everything for 8 months. Emma nodded, wiping her eyes. I found the first credit card statement hidden in his car. Then I started looking deeper. The gambling, the debts, the loan sharks. He borrowed money from some really dangerous people, Margaret. And when they started threatening to hurt me, to hurt you, to get their money, I knew. She couldn't finish the sentence. I finished it for her. You knew he'd choose the money over us. I thought maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was being paranoid. But then I heard him on the phone one night. He thought I was asleep. Emma's voice dropped to barely a whisper. He said, My mother has a heart condition. It runs in her family. If something happened, something natural, I'd inherit immediately, could pay you back with interest. My blood ran cold. I don't have a heart condition. I know, but Derek's been telling people you do, setting the stage. So when you died, it would seem expected, tragic, but not suspicious. The pieces clicked together with horrible clarity. 6 months of Derek calling me more often, asking about my health, suggesting I see doctors, telling everyone at family gatherings that I should take it easy because of my condition. I'd thought he was being caring, attentive, a good son finally stepping up after his father's death. He was building an alibi. Agent Reynolds wants me to get on that plane, I told Emma, to continue the trip, to let Derek think his plan is working so they can catch him in another attempt. Emma's face went pale. No, absolutely not. Margaret, you can't. She says they need more evidence for a guaranteed conviction. I don't care about a conviction. Emma's voice cracked. I care about you staying alive. What if something goes wrong? What if the agents miss something? What if Derek succeeds? I studied her face, the genuine terror there, the protectiveness. This woman loved me, despite everything I'd done, despite how I'd treated her. Will you come with me? I asked. Will you help me do this? Emma stared at me. You're actually considering it. I built a $50 million company from nothing, Emma. I faced down venture capitalists, hostile boards, and competitors who wanted to bury me. If I can survive that, I paused. I can survive my own son, especially if I'm not alone. Something shifted in Emma's expression. Steel replacing fear. If we do this, she said slowly. We do it my way. You don't go anywhere alone with him. You don't eat or drink anything he gives you. You follow every safety protocol the FBI sets up. Agreed. Agreed. Emma looked at Agent Reynolds, still standing in the doorway. What kind of protection are we talking about? Reynolds stepped into the room. 2 undercover agents on the flight. 1 in first class, 1 in coach. Hotel rooms will have surveillance. We'll have agents posing as tourists following you at major locations. GPS trackers, panic buttons, and Emma, you'll continue wearing the wire. And if he tries something and your agents aren't fast enough, Emma challenged, then I intervene, I said. I'm not a helpless victim, Emma. I know who Derek is now. I'll be watching for it. We both looked at each other. 2 women who'd been on opposite sides for 4 years. Now allies, now family. In a way we'd never been before. Okay, Emma said finally. But when this is over, when he's in handcuffs and we're safe, I'm getting the biggest bottle of wine in existence, and we're going to have a very long talk about everything. Despite everything, despite the poison, the betrayal, the horror, I almost smiled. Deal. Agent Reynolds nodded. Then let's get you both back to the boarding area. We have a flight to catch. As we walked back through those airport corridors, I felt the weight of what we were about to do settling on my shoulders. 2 weeks in Japan with a man who wanted me dead. 2 weeks of performing normalcy while wearing a wire and watching my son's every move. 2 weeks of finally seeing Emma as the daughter I never had and the partner I always needed. I could see Derek through the window of the boarding lounge, pacing, phone in his hand, probably texting Emma, wondering what was taking so long. Ready? Reynolds asked. I looked at Emma. She looked back at me. We both nodded, and together we walked toward my would-be killer, with smiles on our faces and steel in our spines. Because Derek had made one critical mistake. He'd underestimated the women in his life, and that mistake was going to cost him everything. Walking back into that boarding lounge felt like walking onto a stage where one wrong line could cost me my life. Derek saw us immediately. His face lit up with what looked like genuine relief, and God help me. For half a second my heart wanted to believe it was real. Mom, thank God! He rushed over, pulling me into a hug. What happened? They wouldn't tell me anything. I was about to call our lawyer. Over his shoulder I caught Emma's eye. She gave the tiniest shake of her head. A warning. Don't break character. Just a paperwork issue with my entry visa for Japan, I said, patting his back like I'd done 1,000 times before. All sorted now. You know how bureaucracy can be. Derek pulled back, holding me at arm's length, his hands on my shoulders, those hands that had poured poison into my water bottle 45 minutes ago. You scared me, he said, and his eyes, they looked scared, actually scared. That's when I understood something terrifying. Derek believed his own performance. He'd compartmentalized so completely that he could attempt murder and then feel genuine fear when his victim was taken away by authorities. 2 versions of himself, and neither one acknowledged the other existed. I'm fine, sweetheart, I said, using the endearment I hadn't called him in years. His eyes brightened. Let's just get on this plane and start our vacation, okay? Your father would want us to do this together. Something flickered across Derek's face when I mentioned David. Guilt? Regret? It vanished so quickly I might have imagined it. Yeah, he said softly. Dad would want that. The boarding announcement came over the speakers. First-class passengers were invited to board. Emma moved to my side, not Derek's side, mine, and linked her arm through my elbow. Ready, Margaret? Derek's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. He didn't like Emma touching me, didn't like her being familiar with me. I filed that observation away. Ready, I said. We boarded the plane. First class, 3 seats together, just like I'd arranged months ago when I thought this would be a healing trip. Me by the window, Derek in the middle, Emma on the aisle. Derek helped me with my bag, playing the dutiful son. Here, Mom, let me get that. You should rest. It's been a stressful morning. Thank you, honey. He pulled out my carry-on and I watched his eyes go straight to the side pocket, looking for the water bottle, making sure it was still there. Agent Reynolds had given me a new bottle, identical to the old one, same brand, same wear and tear on the logo, but this one wouldn't kill me. Derek's shoulders relaxed when he saw it, relief washing over his face. He thought everything was still going according to plan. The plane filled up around us. I spotted one of the undercover agents 3 rows ahead, a man in his 40s with a rumpled blazer and a paperback novel. He caught my eye for a fraction of a second. A tiny nod. "We're here. You're safe." The flight attendant came by for pre-flight drinks. Derek ordered champagne for all 3 of us. "To family," he said, raising his glass once they were poured. "To Mom, to this trip, to new beginnings." "To new beginnings," Emma echoed quietly, and I heard the layers in her voice. We clinked glasses, drank. The champagne tasted like acid going down. Derek leaned back in his seat as the plane taxied to the runway. "You know what, Mom? I'm really glad we're doing this. After Dad died, I felt like we were drifting apart. Like I was losing you, too. You're not losing me, Derek. You tried to end me, but you're not losing me. I'm right here. I know, and I want you to know." He took my hand. His palm was warm, familiar, the same hand I'd held when he was 5 and scared of thunderstorms. "I want you to know that I love you, that I'm grateful for everything you've done for me, everything you've sacrificed." Emma turned away, looking out into the aisle. I could see her reflection in the window, her jaw clenched, tears threatening. "I love you too, son," I said, and meant it. That was the most painful part. I still loved him. Even knowing what I knew, the plane lifted off. Chicago fell away beneath us, and I watched my city get smaller and smaller until it disappeared into clouds. 14 hours to Tokyo. 14 hours sitting next to my would-be murderer, pretending everything was normal. Derek fell asleep about 2 hours into the flight. His head tilted back, mouth slightly open, completely relaxed. Emma leaned across him, keeping her voice barely above a whisper. "There's something you need to know about the trip." I leaned in closer. "Derek changed our hotel reservation in Kyoto," Emma breathed. 2 days ago. I saw the confirmation email. He moved us to a ryokan, a traditional inn outside the city. More isolated, fewer tourists. My stomach clenched. Why would he do that? I don't know. But Margaret, traditional ryokans often have communal baths, onsen, hot springs. Emma's eyes were dark with fear. People have accidents in onsen all the time, drowning, heart attacks from the heat, and the one he chose has outdoor baths built into the mountainside. The implication hung between us, a cliff, water, heat that could trigger cardiac symptoms, and me, with my heart condition that Derek had invented. "Does Agent Reynolds know?" I texted her from the bathroom. Emma showed me her phone, tilted so Derek couldn't see if he woke up. "She's coordinating with Japanese authorities. They'll have people at the ryokan." "How long have you been doing this?" I asked. "Watching him, documenting, protecting me." Emma was quiet for a long moment. "Do you really want to know?" "Yes," she sighed. I started suspecting something was wrong about a year into our marriage. Small things. Money disappearing from our joint account, Derek being secretive about his phone, coming home at odd hours smelling like cigarette smoke, and he doesn't smoke. But you stayed. I loved him, Margaret. I thought I could help him. That love would be enough. Emma's laugh was bitter. Then your husband got sick, and I watched Derek's behavior change. He got colder, more calculating, started asking David questions about the will, about inheritance laws, about your assets. I closed my eyes. David never told me. Because David wanted to believe Derek was just being responsible, planning for the future. Your husband saw the best in people, especially his son. Emma paused. It wasn't until after David died that I realized how bad things really were. What happened? I came home early from work one day. Derek was on the phone in his office. The door was cracked open. I heard him say, she swallowed hard. Once my mother's gone, I'll have access to everything. I can pay you back triple. Just give me 6 months. She's old. She's weak from losing Dad. Nature will take its course. The words hit like physical blows. I stood outside that door, Emma continued, and I realized my husband was negotiating a timeline for his mother's death. And that's when I knew I had to do something, had to protect you, even if you hated me for it. I did hate you, I admitted. I thought you were manipulating him, using him. I know. Derek made sure you thought that. Every time I tried to get close to you, he'd pull you aside later and whisper something. Emma's just stressed about money. Emma's jealous of our relationship. Emma doesn't understand our family. Poison of a different kind. Poisoning my mind against her while planning to literally poison me. I'm sorry, I said. Emma, I'm so sorry. She shook her head. Don't apologize now. Save your energy. We have 2 weeks to get through. Derek stirred in his sleep. We both froze, went silent, watched him. He mumbled something incoherent and settled back down. Emma and I sat back in our seats, not touching, not speaking. But something had shifted between us, an understanding, an alliance. The flight attendant came by with the meal service. Derek woke up, groggy and disoriented. Food, he mumbled. Finally. I'm starving. We ate the mediocre airline food. Derek made jokes about it, charming and funny like he'd always been. Emma and I laughed at the right moments, performed our roles perfectly. But under the table, Emma's hand found mine. Squeezed once. I'm here. We're in this together. We landed in Tokyo at 3 p.m. local time. Narita Airport was massive, gleaming, efficient. Everything moved like clockwork. Going through customs, I kept waiting for something to happen, for Derek to try something. But he was the perfect son, helping with luggage, making sure I had my documents, asking if I needed to rest. The hotel has a car waiting, he said as we cleared customs. It's about an hour drive into the city. An hour in a car, confined space. My heart rate picked up. Emma must have sensed it. Actually, Derek, I was thinking we could take the train. Margaret's never been on a Japanese bullet train. It would be more authentic. Derek's smile tightened. Mom's tired. The car would be more comfortable. I'd love to see the train, I said quickly. Emma's right. When will I get this chance again? For just a second, Derek's mask slipped. Annoyance, anger. Then it was back. Dutiful son, accommodating and sweet. Of course, Mom, whatever you want. We took the Narita Express into Tokyo. The train was sleek, fast, impossibly quiet. Derek sat across from Emma and me, watching us with an expression I couldn't quite read. You two are getting along better, he observed. Are we? I said lightly. I suppose tragedy brings people together. Yeah. Derek's eyes were unreadable. I suppose it does. We arrived at our hotel in Asakusa at sunset. The traditional neighborhood was beautiful. Temples and shrines nestled between modern buildings. Streets lined with lanterns just beginning to glow in the fading light. The hotel was boutique, elegant. Derek had chosen well, I had to admit. 2 rooms, Derek told the front desk. My wife and I in one, my mother in the other. The desk clerk handed over key cards. We took the elevator up. 4th floor, rooms across the hall from each other. Get settled, Mom, Derek said. We'll meet for dinner in an hour. There's an incredible sushi place 2 blocks away. Perfect. I went into my room, locked the door, stood with my back against it for a full minute, just breathing. My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. This is Agent Reynolds. Your room is secure. We've done a sweep. No surveillance devices, no tampering. The room across the hall, 217, is ours. If you need anything, knock 3 times. I texted back. Derek changed the Kyoto reservation. Emma told you? Yes. We're handling it. Get some rest. You did well on the plane. I sat on the bed, looked out the window at Tokyo spreading out beneath me, millions of lights beginning to twinkle in the darkness. Somewhere in this beautiful city, my son was planning my death, and I was going to let him try, just so the evidence would be ironclad. David's voice echoed in my head. Promise me you'll get closer to Derek. I'm trying, honey, I whispered to the empty room. Just not the way you meant. Dinner was at a tiny sushi restaurant tucked down a side street, the kind of place you'd never find without a local recommendation, 8 seats at the counter. The chef worked in focused silence, creating art with fish and rice. Derek ordered for all of us, in flawless Japanese. I'd forgotten he was fluent. He'd studied it in college, spent a semester abroad in Osaka. "When did you get so good?" I asked. "I've been practicing," he said, "for this trip. Wanted to make sure we could navigate without problems. Or wanted to make sure he could communicate with locals without me understanding," I thought. The sushi was extraordinary, each piece a revelation. I'd never tasted anything like it. Derek watched me eat with something tender in his expression. "You like it? It's incredible." "Good. I wanted tonight to be special. Our first night in Dad's homeland." He raised his sake cup. "To David, who should be here with us." We drank, and I felt the loss of my husband like a fresh wound. David should have been here, should have seen this country, should have been alive to what? See his son for who he really was? Maybe it was better that he never knew. "Tomorrow," Derek said, "I thought we'd start with Sensoji Temple. It's right here in Asakusa, then Meiji Shrine, then maybe the Imperial Palace Gardens if Mom's not too tired." "Sounds wonderful," I said. Emma had barely touched her food. She pushed rice around her plate, lost in thought. "You okay, Em?" Derek asked. His voice was sharp, pointed. "Just jet-lagged," Emma said quickly. "I'll be fine tomorrow." We walked back to the hotel through streets illuminated by paper lanterns. Tokyo at night was magical, neon and tradition existing side by side, the ancient and ultra-modern blending seamlessly. Derek walked between Emma and me, his arms around both our shoulders. To anyone watching, we looked like a happy family. We were 3 people playing different games, and only 2 of us knew the real rules. Back at the hotel, Derek hugged me goodnight. "Sleep well, Mom. Tomorrow's going to be amazing." "Good night, sweetheart." I watched him and Emma disappear into their room, waited 5 minutes. Then I knocked 3 times on room 217. Agent Reynolds opened the door immediately. Another agent sat at a laptop, headphones on, monitoring something. "That's Emma's wire," Reynolds explained, seeing my glance. "We're listening in real time." "And?" "They're fighting. He wants to know why she's being so attentive to you, accused her of trying to turn you against him." "Is she safe?" "For now. We have a camera in the hallway. If he gets violent, we'll intervene." I sat on the edge of the bed in their surveillance room, listening to the tinny audio feed of my son and daughter-in-law's marriage disintegrating. Derek's voice distorted through the wire. "You've been acting weird all day, clingy with her. What's your game, Emma?" "Emma, there's no game. I'm just trying to make this trip nice for her. She lost her husband 6 months ago, Derek. She's grieving." "Derek, she's fine. She's always fine. She doesn't need you babying her." "Emma, why does it bother you so much that I'm being nice to your mother?" Silence. Long, dangerous silence. Then Derek, "It doesn't. I'm just tired. Forget I said anything." The sound of a door closing. Shower running. Reynolds looked at me. "He's getting paranoid. That's good and bad. Good because paranoid people make mistakes. Bad because paranoid people are unpredictable." "What happens tomorrow?" "You proceed as normal. We have 4 agents positioned around Sensoji Temple. The shrine visit is more concerning. Meiji Shrine has densely wooded areas, fewer crowds, but we'll have people there." "And Kyoto?" Reynolds pulled up a file on the laptop. "The ryokan Derek booked is called Kawanosado, River Village. It's built into a mountainside overlooking a gorge. Beautiful. Remote. The outdoor onsen bath is carved into natural rock, about 80 feet above the river." My mouth went dry. 80 feet. "We've coordinated with local police. They'll have officers posing as hikers in the area. But Margaret..." Reynolds met my eyes. "You cannot go to that bath alone, not even with Emma. If Derek suggests it, you refuse. Understand?" "I understand." I went back to my room, lay in bed staring at the ceiling, listening to Tokyo's nighttime sounds filtering through the window. Sleep felt impossible. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Derek's hand on that water bottle, saw the vial tipping, saw my own death playing out in 100 different scenarios. My phone buzzed. Text from Emma. Are you awake? Yes, can I come over? Derek's asleep. I need to talk. Door's unlocked. 2 minutes later, Emma slipped into my room. She was in pajamas, her face scrubbed clean of makeup, looking about 20 years old. I can't sleep, she admitted. Keep thinking about tomorrow, about what he might try. Me too. We sat on my bed, two women in a foreign country united by fear and determination. Can I ask you something? Emma said. Why did you hate me so much? From the beginning? I'd known this question would come eventually. Didn't make it easier to answer. You weren't what I wanted for Derek, I said honestly. I wanted him to marry someone ambitious, someone who matched his potential. A social worker seemed like settling. Settling. Emma's voice was flat. I was wrong. I see that now. You have more courage in your little finger than Derek has in his entire body, more integrity, more strength. I took her hand. You're not good enough for Derek. He's not good enough for you. Emma's eyes filled with tears. I loved him so much, Margaret. I really did. I thought I could fix him, heal whatever was broken inside him. We both loved men we couldn't fix, I said softly. You with Derek, me with my own ambitions. I thought if I just worked hard enough, achieved enough, Derek would become the son I wanted him to be. But you can't force people into shapes they don't fit. When did you realize he was broken? I thought about it, really thought. Maybe I always knew, but I didn't want to see it. Didn't want to admit that my son, the child I'd given everything to, was capable of something like this. We sat in silence for a while. Then Emma said, Tomorrow at the temple, stay close to me. Don't let him separate us. I won't. And Margaret? Emma squeezed my hand. If something goes wrong, if he manages to succeed, I need you to know that I tried, that I did everything I could. Emma, nothing is going to. Please, let me say this. Her voice cracked. I need you to know that you're not alone, that someone saw you, valued you, even when you didn't see or value them. I pulled her into a hug. This woman child who'd married my son and ended up saving my life. Thank you, I whispered, for everything. Emma left a few minutes later. I finally fell into restless sleep around 3 a.m., my phone clutched in my hand. The panic button app Agent Reynolds had installed one tap away. Morning came too fast. Sunlight streamed through the window, and I woke to the sound of my phone buzzing. Text from Derek. Good morning, Mom. Ready for an adventure? Meet downstairs at 9? I texted back. Can't wait. See you soon. Got dressed. Put on comfortable walking shoes. Made sure my phone was fully charged. Looked at myself in the mirror. I'd aged 10 years in the last 24 hours. Dark circles under my eyes. New lines around my mouth. But my eyes were different. Harder, clearer. I wasn't Margaret Chen, naive mother who couldn't see her son's true nature. I was Margaret Chen, who'd built a company from nothing, who'd survived in rooms full of men who wanted to destroy her, who'd turned $100,000 into $50 million through sheer force of will. And I'd be damned if Derek thought I was an easy target. I went downstairs. Derek was waiting in the lobby, smiling, eager, every inch the loving son. Ready to see the real Tokyo, he asked. More than ready, I said. Emma appeared a moment later. Her ankle was wrapped in an AC bandage. What happened? I asked, alarmed. Twisted at getting out of bed, Emma said, but her eyes told a different story. Derek happened. Something happened last night after I left. Do you need to see a doctor, Tilarifata? I asked. I'm fine, just clumsy. Emma's smile didn't reach her eyes. Derek's hand was on the small of Emma's back, possessive, controlling. She'll be fine, Mom. Emma's tough, aren't you, honey? Tough as nails, Emma agreed quietly. We walked to Sensoji Temple. Even injured, Emma stayed between Derek and me, a human shield she'd made herself into. The temple was breathtaking. Massive red gates, incense smoke curling into the morning air, hundreds of tourists taking photos, buying fortunes, tossing coins into offering boxes. And somewhere in that crowd, federal agents were watching. Derek bought incense for all of us. "For Dad," he said, "for good luck, for family." We lit the incense together, bowed, made our wishes. I wished for truth, for justice, for survival. I wondered what Derek wished for. He suggested we take photos on the steep stone steps leading up to the main hall. Hundreds of steps. Steep. Dangerous. "It's an iconic shot," Derek said. "People come from all over the world to photograph these steps." Emma's hand tightened on my arm. "Maybe we should do photos on flat ground." "With Margaret's." She trailed off deliberately, letting Derek fill in the blank. "With Mom's heart condition," Derek finished. "You're right. I wasn't thinking." But his eyes said he'd been thinking about it very carefully. We compromised. Photos halfway up, where there was a small landing, safe, controlled. Derek positioned me at the edge of the landing. Perfect. The temple in the background. Morning light hitting your face. "This is going to be beautiful, Mom." Emma stood just behind Derek, her phone out, filming, documenting everything. Derek raised his camera. Then his foot slipped. He stumbled forward directly toward me, momentum carrying him fast. And Emma caught him, grabbed his arm, yanked him backward, saving him from accidentally crashing into me and sending us both tumbling down 30 stone steps. "Careful," Emma gasped. "Derek, you almost fell." Derek's face was furious for half a second, then concerned. "Oh my God. Mom, I'm so sorry. These steps are slippery. Are you okay?" "I'm fine." My heart was hammering. "Maybe we should head down, do the garden walk instead." "Good idea," Emma said quickly. We descended the steps carefully. I didn't look back, but I could feel Derek's eyes burning into my back. He'd tried, his first real attempt since the airport, and Emma had stopped him. The rest of the day passed in a blur. Meiji Shrine with its towering trees and sacred atmosphere. Imperial Palace gardens with their manicured perfection. All the while, Derek looked for opportunities, moments when I might be vulnerable, isolated, accessible. And all the while, Emma and I stayed together, a unit, impenetrable. By evening, Derek was visibly frustrated, tense. His jokes had an edge. His smiles didn't reach his eyes. Back at the hotel, he pulled me aside while Emma was in the bathroom. "Mom, can we talk? Just the two of us?" Every instinct screamed danger, but I couldn't refuse without raising suspicion. "Of course, honey." We went to a quiet corner of the hotel lobby. Derek sat close, took my hands. "I'm worried about Emma," he said. "Why?" "She's been acting strange, obsessive, watching me all the time, watching you." Derek's voice dropped to a whisper. "I think she might be having some kind of breakdown. The stress of Dad dying, the trip, everything. I'm concerned she might do something irrational." My blood ran cold. He was setting Emma up, positioning her as unstable, as dangerous. So when something happened to me, Emma would be the suspect. "She seems fine to me," I said carefully. "That's what worries me. She's hiding it. But Mom, I know my wife. Something's wrong." Derek squeezed my hands. "Just be careful around her, okay? For me?" "I'll be careful," I promised. And I would be, just not the way Derek meant. Tomorrow we'd board the train to Kyoto, to the isolated ryokan, to the hot spring built into a cliff face, to whatever Derek had planned next. But tonight, I lay in bed and realized something important. I wasn't just surviving this trip, I was winning it. Because every attempt Derek made, every manipulation he tried, was being recorded, documented, witnessed by federal agents and Emma's wire and security cameras. He thought he was hunting me, but I was building his cage, one failed murder attempt at a time. The bullet train to Kyoto cut through the Japanese countryside at 200 miles per hour, and I couldn't help but think how fitting it was. Everything in my life was moving at impossible speed now, toward truth, toward confrontation, toward an ending I couldn't quite see yet. Kelvin sat across from Emma and me, pretending to read a guidebook about Kyoto temples, but I'd caught him checking his phone every few minutes, texting someone. His thumbs moved quickly, urgently. Who was he talking to? The loan sharks? Some contact in Kyoto? Or was he just checking the weather, planning the perfect conditions for whatever he had in mind at that isolated ryokan? Emma noticed too. Her hand found mine under the table, squeezed once. Stay alert. Mom, Kelvin looked up suddenly. I was thinking, when we get to the ryokan, you should try the outdoor onsen bath. The hot springs are supposed to be incredible for stress, and after everything with Dad, there it was, the suggestion, planting the seed. Maybe, I said non-committally. How hot do they get? Pretty hot, like 104, 105 degrees. It's therapeutic. Opens up blood vessels, gets your circulation going. His eyes were so earnest, so caring. With your heart condition, it might actually help. Relaxation, you know. Emma's hand tightened painfully on mine. I'll think about it, I said. The ryokan appeared like something from a dream. Traditional architecture clinging to the mountainside, paper lanterns swaying in the breeze, the sound of rushing water from the gorge far below. It was breathtakingly beautiful. It was also exactly as isolated as Emma had warned. The closest neighbor was a mile away. The road up was narrow and winding. Cell service was spotty. If something happened here, help would be slow to arrive. Isn't it perfect? Kelvin breathed, looking around with what seemed like genuine appreciation. Dad would have loved this. He would have, I agreed quietly. And it was true. David would have found peace here. The innkeeper greeted us with deep bows and rapid Japanese. Kelvin translated smooth and confident. She says dinner will be served in our rooms at 7. The onsen is available any time, but sunset is most beautiful. And we have the place mostly to ourselves. Only 2 other guests this week. 2 other guests. Federal agents, I hoped. Our rooms were adjoining. Traditional tatami mats, futons that would be rolled out at night, sliding paper doors that felt like they offered privacy, but actually blocked nothing. I could hear everything happening in Kelvin and Emma's room. Every word, every footstep, and I'm sure that went both ways. Why don't you rest, Mom? Kelvin suggested. Emma and I are going to walk the grounds before dinner. Every fiber of my being screamed, no, don't let them go alone. Don't let him hurt her. But Emma gave me a subtle nod. She had her phone, her wire. She'd be okay. Sounds good, I said. I'll freshen up. They left. I waited exactly 90 seconds, then opened my door a crack. Through the gap, I watched them walk down the path toward the onsen area. Kelvin's hand was on Emma's lower back. Not affectionate, controlling. My phone buzzed. Text from Agent Reynolds. We see them. 2 agents on the grounds posing as tourists. Emma is not in danger. But Mrs. Chen, we need to talk about tonight. I called her. What's happening tonight? We intercepted a message on Kelvin's phone. He texted someone, we're still tracing the number, and said, tonight, the onsen at sunset. Make it look natural. My stomach dropped. He's going to try at the bath. We believe so, which means we need you to be there. What? Reynolds' voice was firm. Margaret, we need him to actually attempt something. Right now we have suspicious behavior, circumstantial evidence, and Emma's testimony. But a good defense lawyer could tear all of that apart, could paint Emma as vindictive, you as paranoid, Kelvin as innocent. So you want me to go into a hot spring on a cliff and wait for my son to try to drown me? My voice rose. That's insane. We'll have agents in the water with you, 2 of them, close enough to intervene within seconds, and Emma will be there as witness. It's as safe as we can make it. As safe as you can make it, I repeated bitterly. That's not exactly reassuring. I know, but Margaret, this ends tonight, one way or another. You help us catch him in the act, or we arrest him on what we have and hope it sticks. I closed my eyes, thought about David, about his final wish for me to get closer to Kelvin. Maybe this was the closest I'd ever get, close enough to see exactly who my son had become. Okay, I said. I'll do it. But if I die, I'm going to be really annoyed. Reynolds actually laughed. Noted. We'll brief Emma when she gets back. And Margaret, you're one of the bravest people I've ever worked with. Or the stupidest. Sometimes that's the same thing. Dinner was elaborate. Course after course of traditional Japanese kaiseki cuisine, each dish a work of art. It was served in our rooms by silent staff who bowed and disappeared like ghosts. Kelvin was animated, happy, talking about everything we'd do tomorrow. The bamboo forests, the Golden Temple, the Geisha district, making plans for a future he didn't intend for me to see. Mom, he said, pouring sake into my cup, I want to thank you. For what, honey? For this trip, for trying. I know we've had our rough patches. I know I haven't always been the son you wanted. His voice cracked slightly. But these past few days with you, really connecting, it's meant everything to me. God help me, tears pricked my eyes, because part of him probably meant it, the part that wasn't plotting murder, the part that was still the little boy who'd climbed into my lap after nightmares. People aren't just one thing. That's what makes betrayal so devastating. You're my son, I said. I'll always love you, no matter what. Something flickered in Kelvin's eyes. Guilt, regret, pain? Then it was gone. The onsen closes to outside guests at 8, he said casually. But we can use it any time since we're staying here. Sunset is in about 20 minutes. Perfect time to try it out. Emma went completely still. That does sound nice, I said, my heart pounding. Emma, want to join me? Actually, Kelvin interjected smoothly, Emma hates hot water, makes her dizzy, don't you, honey? Emma's face was pale. I can manage. No, Kelvin said firmly. You stay here, rest that ankle. Mom and I can go. Quality time, just the two of us. There it was, the trap. I'd feel better if Emma came, I said. Safety in numbers, you know. What if I slip on those rocks? Kelvin's jaw tightened. I'll be there. Mom, I can help if you slip. That's what I'm afraid of, I thought. Emma's coming, I said, putting steel in my voice. The CEO voice that brooked no argument. End of discussion. For a second, Kelvin looked like he wanted to argue, then he smiled. Of course, whatever makes you comfortable. We changed into the provided yukata robes, traditional, lightweight, easy to move in, easy to drown in too. The walk to the onsen was lit by stone lanterns. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, beautiful and terrible. I could see why people came here to find peace. I was here to survive attempted murder. The outdoor bath was carved into natural rock, steam rising from the surface, the gorge dropping away just beyond a low stone barrier. 80 feet down to the river, maybe more. 2 figures were already in the water. A man and a woman, their backs to us, quiet and still. Federal agents. Had to be. Ladies first, Kelvin said, gesturing to the water. Emma and I exchanged glances. This was it, the moment we'd been building toward. We slipped into the water. It was shockingly hot, almost painful at first, then slowly bearable. The heat made my head swim slightly. Kelvin entered last, positioning himself between Emma and me on one side, the drop-off on the other, trapping me against the cliff edge. We sat in silence for a few minutes. The only sounds were water lapping against rock and the distant rush of the river below. Isn't this incredible? Kelvin said softly. So peaceful. It's beautiful, I agreed. Your father would have loved it. Yeah. Kelvin moved slightly closer to me. Mom, can I tell you something? Of course. Honey, I'm in trouble. His voice was barely audible. Financial trouble, bad trouble. Emma's head snapped toward him. She hadn't expected this. Confession, instead of violence. What kind of trouble? I asked. Gambling debts. $4 million. Kelvin's hands were shaking beneath the water. I borrowed from the wrong people. They're threatening Emma, threatening you. I don't know what to do. Was this real? Was he actually confessing? Or was this part of some new manipulation? Why didn't you come to me before? I asked carefully. Because I was ashamed. Because I knew I'd disappointed you. Because... He looked at me, and his eyes were wet. because I thought if something happened to you naturally, I'd inherit, and this would all go away. And I wouldn't have to admit what a failure I'd become. The two agents in the water had gone very still, listening, recording. Something happened naturally, I repeated. Like a heart attack? Kelvin nodded miserably. They told me digitalis could mimic cardiac arrest, that with your family history, I don't have a family history of heart problems, Kelvin. He froze. What? There is no heart condition. You invented that. My voice was steady now. Calm. You poisoned my water at the airport. You tried to push me down those temple steps. And tonight, what was the plan? Drown me in this bath? Make it look like I had a cardiac episode brought on by the heat? The color drained from Kelvin's face. Mom, I don't know what you're... Stop lying, Emma's voice cracked through the air. Just stop, Kelvin. She knows everything. The FBI knows everything. I've been recording you for 8 months. It's over. Kelvin looked between us, understanding dawning, horror, rage, betrayal. You set me up and your mother, Emma shot back, multiple times. Because I had no choice, Kelvin's voice rose. Those men were going to hurt you, Emma. They were going to hurt Mom. I was trying to save us. By murdering me? I asked quietly. By solving the problem. Kelvin was standing now, water sluicing off him. Don't you understand? I was drowning, Mom, drowning in debt and fear, and I just needed help. I needed you to help me. You never asked me to help you, Kelvin. You asked me to die for you. There's a difference. The two agents were moving now, subtly positioning themselves. Kelvin saw them, realized what they were. Cops, he breathed. You brought cops. Federal agents, I corrected, and they've recorded this entire conversation. For a moment, Kelvin just stood there, water streaming down his face. Or maybe tears, I couldn't tell. He looked young suddenly, lost, like the little boy he'd been before everything went wrong. I'm sorry, he whispered. Mom, I'm so sorry. I'm sick. I need help. Please, please don't do this. And despite everything, despite the poison, the lies, the attempts on my life, my heart broke for him. I'll help you get treatment, Kelvin, I said. I'll make sure you have the best lawyers, the best doctors, but you have to face what you've done. No. Kelvin shook his head wildly. No, I'm not going to prison. I can't. I won't. He lunged, not at me, at Emma. He grabbed her by the throat, dragged her toward the cliff edge. Call them off. Call the cops off or I'll drop her. The agents were out of the water in seconds, weapons drawn. Let her go. Kelvin, let her go. Emma's eyes were huge, terrified, her hands scrabbling at Kelvin's grip. He'll do it, I said, my voice surprisingly steady. He'll actually do it. He's desperate enough. Mom, Kelvin's voice was pleading, desperate. Make them back off. Please, I'm your son. I looked at him, really looked, at the man he'd become, the choices he'd made. You're my son, I said, and I love you, but Emma is family too. She saved my life, Kelvin. She protected me when my own child wanted me dead. So no, I won't call them off. Then she dies, Kelvin screamed. No. Emma's voice was surprisingly calm for someone being strangled at cliff's edge. No, I don't. She went limp, sudden, complete dead weight. Kelvin, unprepared for the shift, stumbled backward. Emma twisted, breaking his grip, and threw herself forward, away from the cliff, toward me. Kelvin off balance, momentum carrying him backward. The agents grabbed him, just in time, inches from the drop. They slammed him face first into the rock, cuffed him, read him his rights in English and Japanese. Kelvin sobbed, great, heaving sobs that sounded like a child. Mom, please, don't let them take me. I climbed out of the water, wrapped a towel around myself, walked over to where he lay in handcuffs, knelt down so we were eye to eye. You made your choices, Kelvin, I said softly. Now you live with them. I'm your son. Yes, and that's why this hurts so much. I touched his wet hair, just once. a final goodbye. But being my son doesn't mean you get away with murder. They pulled him to his feet, led him away, still crying, still begging. Emma and I stood there in our wet yucatas, watching the police car's taillights disappear down the mountain road. Is it really over? Emma asked. Yes, I said. It's really over. 6 months later, I sat in a courtroom in Chicago, watching my son plead guilty to attempted murder. His lawyers had advised against trial. The evidence was overwhelming. Video, audio, Emma's testimony, my testimony, 8 months of documentation. The judge sentenced him to 25 years, eligible for parole in 15. Kelvin looked at me as they led him away. Not angry, not pleading, just empty. I didn't cry until I got home. Emma came over that night with wine and takeout. She'd filed for divorce the week after Japan. It had gone through without contest. How are you? She asked. Honestly, I don't know. I poured us both wine. I did the right thing. I know I did. But it still feels like I failed him somehow. You didn't fail him, Margaret. You just stopped enabling him. Emma raised her glass. To doing hard things. To doing hard things, I echoed. We sat on my couch, eating Chinese food, watching mindless TV. 2 women who'd survived the unthinkable. I offered Emma a job, I said suddenly. CEO of my company. She said yes. Emma, my Emma now, not Kelvin's, smiled. Of course she did. You don't make offers people refuse. I learned from the best, I said. From a social worker who had the courage to stand up to her own husband to save her mother-in-law's life. You're not my mother-in-law anymore. No, I agreed. But maybe I could be something better. Maybe I could be family, real family, chosen family. Emma's eyes filled with tears. I'd like that. 2 years have passed since Japan. Emma is thriving at the company. Turns out she's a natural at business, with an empathy and insight I never had. Kelvin writes me sometimes from prison, short letters, apologetic, promising he's getting help, going to therapy, facing his demons. I don't write back yet. Maybe someday, when I'm ready, when he's ready. But I did visit once, 6 months ago. We sat across from each other in that sterile visiting room, and I asked him the question that had haunted me. Why, Kelvin? Really, why? He thought for a long time. Because it was easier than facing what I'd become. Easier than admitting I'd failed. Easier than asking for help and risking disappointment. He looked at me. You always expected so much, Mom, and I spent my whole life feeling like I was never enough. So you decided ending me was the solution? No. I decided lying to myself was the solution. The killing was just the end result of 1,000 small lies I told myself until I didn't know what was real anymore. It wasn't a good answer, but it was an honest one. As I got up to leave, Kelvin said one more thing. Emma comes to see me sometimes. Did you know that? I didn't. She brings books, tells me about the company, about life. She doesn't forgive me, but she shows up anyway. His voice broke. She's better than both of us, Mom. I know, I said. That's why I'm glad she's in my life. So here's what I learned from almost being murdered by my own son. Family isn't about blood. It's about who shows up, who tells the truth even when it costs them everything. Who protects you when protection means risking themselves. Emma showed up. She told the truth. She protected me. Kelvin was my blood, but Emma became my family. And sometimes the person who saves your life is the same person you spent years underestimating, dismissing, judging unfairly. I don't know if Kelvin will ever truly change. I don't know if he'll be a different person when he gets out in 13 more years. But I know this. I'm not waiting around to find out. I'm living, really living, for the first time in decades. David made me promise to get closer to Kelvin. I kept that promise, just not the way he expected. I got close enough to see the truth, and sometimes seeing the truth means accepting that some distances are necessary. I still love my son. I'll always love him. But I love myself more, and that finally is enough. I want to hear your stories. Drop them in the comments. because maybe you're going through something similar right now. Maybe you're that person caught between loving someone and protecting yourself from them. And if you're reading this and thinking about someone in your life who makes you feel unsafe, please hear me. You are not crazy. You are not overreacting. And you are not obligated to set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm, even if that someone is family. If this story resonated with you, hit that subscribe button. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. And tell me in the comments, what would you have done in my situation? Because your story matters too. And maybe, just maybe, sharing it will help someone else survive their own impossible choice. Stay safe out there. And remember, family is who shows up, not who shares your DNA.